Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 245th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So this massive, ever-changing powerhouse of a group is a bit different than most of the other Southern acts I've covered on the page, as Arrested Development is a lot closer to A Tribe Called Quest or A De La Soul, stylistically, thematically, and ethos-wise, than they were to fellow other Southern acts from the early to mid-90s, like Ghetto Boys, UGK, 8 Ball and MJG, or 3 6 Mafia, because these guys set out to make music that was basically the antithesis to gangster rap. However, they were definitely an influence on conscious Southern hip hop groups like Outkast, Goody Mob, Cunning Linguists, or Nappy Roots. This Georgia based collective has had an ever changing roster, but it was initially formed all the way back in 1988 by DJ and turntablist Headliner, along with rapper slash producer Speech, who's really the mainstay of the crew and remains the leader even to this day, to my knowledge. I'm not going to name every single one of the associates that Arrested Development had over the years because it's a pretty extensive list, but a handful of them include, and I apologize in advance because I'm going to butcher most of these names: JJ Boogie, One Love, Farida Alim, Baba Ohe, Moncho Eshe, Rasa Dawn, Dion Ferris, Ahile, Foley, Kamal Malek, Isaiah Zaw Williams III, and Nadira Shakur. I also should address the name of this group because there's a chance you've never heard of this hip hop collective I'm discussing here, yet are aware of the show Arrested Development, which was my position at least a handful of years back when I first discovered these guys. Well, in 2003, AD the rap group attempted to sue the Fox network over the name of the TV show, considering they had the name a good decade earlier, if not more. I don't believe they were successful with this, but it's a shame that the two properties couldn't coexist in a peaceful and amicable way. And honestly, while I'm actually a massive fan of the Arrested Development TV show, and people from it like Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and especially David Cross, I still feel like Ron Howard could have and should have allowed the band to keep their name since they had it first and just went back to the drawing board and picked something else. Because that title really has little to no relevance to the concept or any of the plot lines to the actual show. Either way, the collective's debut LP, titled 3 Years, 5 Months, and 2 Days in the Life of, is most likely my pick for their best album, because while some of the later output could be a bit more hit or miss with fans and critics, pretty much everyone agrees that their breakout project is the magnum opus when it comes to the Arrested Development discography. And past that, it's one of the more introspective and colorful records in general to come out in 1992, as it's full of energy and positivity. Plus, it's packed with themes like love and spirituality, which I understand can come off corny to some nowadays. But you have to remember that this was the same year Dr. Dre's The Chronic dropped. And as amazing and impactful as that debut is, I wouldn't necessarily say positive is the first word that comes to my head when I throw it on. And it's kind of the same with the movement that it largely helped popularize. There weren't really any places in the country that were embracing positive and Afrocentric hip hop as the cool thing at the time, and I think it's pretty inspiring and uplifting that Speech and Company were able to just plow out a section for themselves in the industry, because this LP was actually a pretty big success upon its release, earning Arrested Development 2 Grammys the following year in 1993, one being for the best rap performance by a duo or group, and the other being for Best New Artist, which AD was actually the first ever hip hop group to win. One of the many highlights on 3 years, 5 months, and 2 days in the life of comes through the track People Every Day, as not only is the hook super catchy, but the song is full of insightful rhymes about the struggle for teenagers growing up under social pressure where you express yourself a certain way and try to make the right choices. But there's a limit where even a peace loving dude who puts up with getting picked on daily is backed into a corner and forced to kinda stand up for themselves. For example, in this track, Speech describes how he was made fun of for his Afrocentric clothes and sense of style, but it doesn't really ramp up until one of the scumbags pretty much gropes a girl Speech is dating, which ends up putting him over the edge and results in him compromising his morals for a pretty understandable reason, which harkens back to the song concept and title. Because no matter how we may portray or try to carry ourselves, at the end of the day, we all have the same instinctual and primal emotions. The only thing that differs from person to person is what it takes to trigger those feelings. Well, there's a number of names that made up the personnel behind this LP, with credits for guitar, saxophone, drums, engineering, or vocals, just to name a few. At the end of the day, it was really Speech who put this landmark release together, as I really can't find a single other credit for production or rapping on this entire thing. It seems that outside of the instrumentation, this was really his unfiltered vision. For my overall top 3 favorite songs on this one, I whittled it down to Mama's Always on Stage, Mr. Wendell, and Tennessee. Then for my honorable mentions, I wanted to shout out tracks like Fishin' for Religion, Children Play with Earth, Raining Revolution, Give a Man a Fish, You, Dawn of the Dreads, Natural, and Washed Away. Thank you for watching my 245th video. Next up, we're covering an album that's pretty much the polar opposite of this one. So keep an eye out for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this self-reflective classic are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Power Rangers disperse.
Look, the key to my soul is locked in the cage it opens. The framework was made from my own rib cue. What came first, the crack or the crack light, or whichever one the first fiend used to bring back fire?